Hey everyone, I'm Dave Michael from Swagman. I'm here to show you how to correctly install a bicycle onto a frame contact rack. These instructions are for frame contact racks that Swagman makes, including the Chinook, the Current, the E-Spec, and many more. We're going to be using a Swagman Chinook to show you how to do this. First off, it's very important that you properly install your bike rack because nobody wants to see a bike missing off of their bike rack in the rearview mirror. When you install a bike on a bike rack, it's very important to get the wheel trays set up. It helps to get them set up in advance. I often line up my bike next to the rack and I just sort of eyeball where I think the center of the wheels are going to be, and I pre-position those wheel trays appropriately. It's very important that those wheel trays are set up properly so that this hook can come down in the lowest position possible on the top tube. If you fail to do that, what happens is that it puts extra stress on those wheel trays and they can potentially slide to the passenger side or driver's side. And in doing so, the hook will leave its position on the top tube and there's nothing left to hold it, and the bike will fall off and get dragged behind your car. So you really need to make sure that that hook is in the lowest position. Another thing to mention is the wheel trays are curved towards the center of the rack. Don't use them on the outside of the rack, because what happens is that it doesn't give you the adjustability moving your bike passenger side to driver's side to get that hook in the lowest position possible. By having them cup the inside of the wheels, it gives you the most capacity to move it to the left or to the right. And then you can get the hook in the proper spot. So when you initially install your bikes on a new bike rack, you may run into conflicts where you cannot get the hook to come down into the lowest position possible on the bikes because it runs into the hook on the initial bike. This can be alleviated sometimes by swapping positions of the bikes. Or, worst case scenario, Swagman does sell just the steel part and with the rubber coating of the short hook. So you could run two short hooks instead of a long hook and a short hook, depending on the frame design and frame styles or sizes you have. Now we're going to talk about how to install bar adapters. Swagman's one of the few brands that actually makes two different sizes of bar adapters. We make one called our Cruiser Bar, which is a little bit longer, and we make one called our Deluxe Bar Adapter. So the Deluxe Bar Adapter has been around for years. Cruiser Bar only came out a couple years ago. And that's because step-through frames started getting longer and longer and longer. And the distance between your head tube and the seat post was too long for the old Deluxe Bar Adapter. Not on all frames, just some. So those step-through frames obviously don't have a top tube, which means there's nothing for the hook to come down onto. So by installing a bar adapter, this creates what we call a virtual top tube, which gives the hook something to come down onto. Thanks for joining us on how to install a bike on a frame contact rack. I hope you've learned something and can carry your bike safely into the future.